You're in a Finnish course right now. Please, everybody, repeat after me. Hyvää huomenta. Nice, good. So that's good morning if you didn't know that already. So hyvää huomenta, good morning. Nice to see all of you here and also there online. I don't see you, but I know that you are there. I believe that there's a big group of people there following our seminar day number 2. So my name is Henri Annala. I'm hosting this day. I was also hosting on Monday if you were here then. So you probably know me already. And yeah, it's a great day ahead of us. Yesterday we started with seminar day number 1. A lot of great speeches, good stuff, and then you ended up today with the sauna experience. How was that? I don't see as many people as I saw yesterday, so I'm a bit worried. Everybody took care of your bodies? You know, nobody got drowned? No? I hope so. What about, I mean, did you like the freezing water? That was good. Yeah. I also heard that you like the Finnish traditional long drink. Yeah. Do you still like it in the morning? Yeah. That's good. Okay. If you like the freezing water, then I have good news for you. Tomorrow morning there is, I mean, yesterday was like bachelor level studies because you had the sauna, right? But tomorrow morning it's like master's level without the sauna. Only for the brave, the morning swim, okay? So that's still, there is an opportunity. Everybody is having this like really like forced smile like her, okay. We're not gonna force anyone, but if you want to continue with your freezing water studies, then that's a possibility. Okay, you know, as we mentioned on Monday, if you were here Monday, we talked with Kaisa before the speed networking. We talked about what's best in these international weeks and intercultural events. And it's, of course, meeting new people, having these discussions. And talking about the sauna, I yesterday had a nice discussion with colleagues from Stuttgart. I don't know if you're here right now, but they had this really interesting conspiracy theory about sauna, that it's actually something that Finnish people never go to. They never go to the freezing water, but they just lead everybody to believe that they do that. And they send the international people there like, you know, they're stupid. They're going there really, you know. But, you know, and then they asked me, I of course told them that, you know, that's not the case. Of course, if everybody goes there. And then they were, okay, will you be there in the sauna evening? Well, unfortunately, I can't because I had something else. See, I told you. But, you know, did you see Finnish people there? Yes. Oh, okay. That's proven wrong now. Yeah, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's well, it is a conspiracy theory, and it's totally wrong. Okay, but enough talking. I'm gonna let our Vice President Ari to officially welcome you. This was the unofficial welcome, and Ari will take care of the official part. So please enter the stage.
Thank you very much. Before I start my official speaking part, I want to thank everybody who has been organizing this event. So as we all know that this requires a huge amount of work and the coordination and other activities as well with what are happening in the background. So please stand up, all the persons who has been organizing this. Yes, let's give a big hand. Thank you very much. And it was really nice to hear that you had a great sauna evening on yesterday. So it was nice that you enjoyed it a lot. All right. Dear colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished guests, I am delighted to have the opportunity to deliver this opening speech for the TAMK Seminar and see you all gathered here today. This event holds great significance as it provides a platform for collaboration and networking among various institutions. The theme for this year's seminar, Reconnecting Professional Networks, perfectly encapsulates the purpose of this gathering. It gives me great pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to this seminar. Today's focus is on research, development, and innovation activities, which is, of course, an important theme when we are looking what is happening on today's world. In today's fast-paced industries where technological improvements and innovations are happening at unforeseen rates, universities and universities of applied sciences plays a crucial role in bridging the gap between RD&I and companies. Our institutions are in unique position to conduct research, development, and innovation activities that are closely aligned with the needs of several industries and especially SME companies. We need to be able to facilitate the transfer of knowledge and technology to the wider society, which is, of course, our biggest challenge. We need to act effectively in several ecosystems to create value and an impact. The impact of the research, development, and innovation activities carried out by the universities and University of Applied Sciences is far-reaching and profound. RID's mission should be solving complex and big problems, create new opportunities, and improve the quality of life for individuals and organizations. For instance, RDI activities in the fields of sustainability can help reducing carbon emission and mitigating the impact of climate change. Likewise, innovations in healthcare technology can lead to the development of new treatments and therapies and thereby improving the health outcomes of the patients. Yes, our work is extremely important. At Tampere University of Applied Sciences, we are implementing research, development, and innovation activities in several industries. Our main mission is to solve the complex problems related, for instance, sustainability, artificial intelligence, and healthcare. Some innovative examples of the projects that we are currently running are Sustainable Fit for Purpose Nonwovens, Academy for Sustainable Future Educators, towards e-coaching and genetic and genomic nursing education. Our project portfolio is versatile and includes several projects in several fields of study. This tells us well the knowledge that we have at Tampere University of Applied Sciences. We are already collaborating, but we wish to collaborate with you all even more to exploit all the possibilities. We should definitely foster the collaboration and knowledge sharing between of our institutions. As a result, new ideas are generated, new projects are initiated, and perspectives are broadened, leading to the development, for instance, of more inclusive solutions and technologies. Collaboration is extremely important. As a conclusion, I would like to say that we have a huge potential to solve complex problems together, create new opportunities, and improve the quality of life overall in society. As we move towards a more technological, advanced, and interconnected world, we will continue to play a crucial role in driving innovation and shaping the future of our society. Thank you for this possibility to open today's ION TAMK seminar. I wish you all fresh learning and innovative day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ari. So now we are officially started for today. Before I let you know who our next speaker is going to be, I'd just like to remind you that we have the streaming event in YouTube and also on LinkedIn, and there's a possibility to comment there. So please use that possibility. You can ask questions, you can add comments to the speakers, and then we can take them here and talk about them. So please use the commenting possibility, just as a reminder. So next, we're gonna hear from Professor Eric Scholz, who's the Dean of the Faculty of Design at the Technical University of Applied Sciences, Würzburg, Schweinfurt, Germany. So the stage is yours.
It's over here. I need the clicker.
Ah, the clicker, yeah, sure.
So, good morning, everybody. Thank you for this nice invitation and thank you for this well-organized event. It's really wonderful to be here, and everything seems to be so perfect. It really makes me speechless in front of having an event like this within the next 2 years in Germany in our university. Hopefully it's working as well as it does here. First of all, thank you for naming me. As you said, I'm Dean and Professor of Digital Media at the Faculty of Design in Würzburg, and founder of the Design and Systems Research Institute, which focuses on applied and interdisciplinary research and development in the field of digital information and communication media. In the next 30, maybe 40 minutes, I would like to talk about a topic that we have been pursuing in Würzburg for years, and that I consider to be extremely important in the context of teaching young people. For me, it is about breaking up traditional professions and finding and discussing new challenges and approaches to appropriate solutions. In other words, a pragmatic form of interdisciplinary collaboration. The insight is not necessarily new, but that the encounter between one's own competence and that German Zukunftsinstitute in Frankfurt summarizes this development with the following statement. This experience is the new universalism that leads the world through the crisis of the present into a new kind of future. The development is particularly interesting in light of the fact that the Corona crisis has accelerated the emergence of new work models and new work structures characterized by work-life blending and collaboration, especially for younger generations. Young people no longer want to earn a lot of money quickly, but rather see themselves more as a problem solver for future social tasks. They are concerned with a sense of purpose, creative opportunities, and work-life balance. In this context, digitization allows for entirely new interdisciplinary work models because, in addition to advancing technology, cultural and social aspects are becoming increasingly relevant. Building on this, such creative business models and the design of innovative products and services can result in something completely new. After many years of digital worship, we must finally understand that digital transformation is not a purely technological process, but a socio-technical one. If people remain at the center, if they network and combine their competencies, then new, innovative, and sustainable things can emerge from this development. As already mentioned, the call for interdisciplinarity is not new. In the past, however, curricula at colleges and universities, social and sociological structures of work and professional qualifications were mostly divided into clusters of competencies. In the meantime, however, young people are less interested in ego structures than in the location of the individual in communities. The coming generation is characterized by diversity in togetherness, teamwork, de-hierarchization, part-time work, the rise of freelance professions, creative work, and the triumph of the creative class have displaced yesterday's attitude toward the individualized world. In the field of design education, interdisciplinary collaboration has been gaining special importance for some time. The reason for this are the efforts of universities to push ahead with research activities in the creative field as well. There is still a debate about whether there is such a thing as design research at all, or whether it is much better to speak of research through design. In Würzburg, we are convinced that design is a future and networking discipline. At the center of innovative processes, it connects different disciplines horizontally and makes them connectable to transfer. Research through design is about developing new interdisciplinary methods that can be used to combine design innovation and categorical thinking. Additionally, research through design faces the challenge of developing new methods and new forms of descriptions and linguization for communication and product design. In doing so, the involvement of other professional groups is necessary in order to recognize which current and future problems arise and how these could be solved in cooperation with the respective experts. Ideally, these collaborations will not only result in new insights, but also in new ways of thinking or even in new professional fields. It's always worth taking a look into the past, of course, also in this case. Nevertheless, you have to research history a little more closely to find specific role models for orientation. One example that points the way for me personally, is the Vienna method of image statistics developed by the Austrian philosopher, sociologist, and economist Otto Neurath. He was an important representative of the Vienna Circle, a group of scientists and philosophers active in Vienna in the 1920s and 1930s, who were concerned with logic, philosophy of science, and philosophy of language. Neurath was particularly known for his work on epistemology and the philosophy of science. He emphasized the importance of empirical evidence and argued that all sciences should be built on a common foundation of observation and experiments. Together with the artist and illustrator Gerd Arnz and his later wife Marie Reidemeister, Neurath's early thoughts gave rise to the group Isotype, which is short for International System of Typographic Picture Education, whose mission was to present complex information in a simple and easy to understand way in order to make it more accessible to a broad audience. It was interesting that Isotype already had humanities experts and artists working together on an equal footing. Neurath considered interdisciplinarity as a way to improve understanding of complex systems and processes by combining different disciplines. He was a great advocate of collaboration between scientists, engineers, and artists to look at problems from different perspectives and to develop innovative solutions. It is remarkable how far-sighted the Isotype approach was even 100 years ago. Solutions emerged that empowered the less educated working class to engage political exchange. His work prevented social unrest and educated the people. It was about solving problems and social challenges, not about the trivial aesthetification of graphic images and pictograms. Neurath demonstrated the innovative power of interdisciplinary collaboration and made his potential visible. It is therefore completely incomprehensible that so little of his work has remained or even been further developed after 1945. But what can we learn from it? What can Neurath's reflections mean for the 21st century? A time that has experienced an incredible acceleration through digitization. And for young people who, as mentioned at the beginning, are asking about the meaning of life and disbelief in capitalistically influenced, overheated economic systems more than ever. The findings so far make it clear that interdisciplinary collaborations gives rise to new perspectives and ideas. Otto Neurath's isotype, however, illustrates another point that is very important to me. His work was about proactive, preventive approach of thinking. At that time, he saw the rapidly radicalizing labor force as an emerging conflict with the potential for a civil war. His thinking was prognostic, and the thrust of his work was to prevent an emerging problem even before it occurs. In this way, Neurath was not thinking reactively. Rather, he was trying to make the findings of theory and science a preventive issue through the communicative power of visual enlightenment. This, or the proactive work, would not have been possible without a scientific analysis of the solution, but neither would it have been possible without the visual language that could be understood by all. For me, the synergy of theory and design practice and the social scientific prognostication make isotype a perfect example of a modern interdisciplinary education in a design context, and maybe not only in the design context, but as we heard yesterday, in other disciplines as well. Back to the present. I use this graphic here to teach my students the principles of the proactive design process. First, it shows the classic flow of a creative engagement in cooperation with a customer. This traditional logic is established and works well when there is a customer. However, in this case, a designer is merely teaching or reacting to the wishes of a client, which usually restricts innovative collaboration. But this model becomes a big problem when there is no client due, for example, to economic crisis or something else. Then the rest of this list or row does not take place. I have therefore extended the thinking model by 2 points to the left. At point -2, I want to encourage my students to discover problem sets, analyze and visualize them. Step -1 is then about creating a prototype, about showing an approach to a solution. From that point on, it is not very difficult to find a suitable customer with a result from this process to whom both the problem and the solution approach fit in an ideal manner. This process turns a design service provider into an entrepreneur. To demonstrate the procedure in training practice, I have brought you some examples. The first thesis by a bachelor's student deals with the topic of Parkinson's disease. Among other things, people with this neurological disease have difficulty walking and, in the advanced stages, suffer from so-called freezing of gait episodes. They stagger on the spot and can no longer find their way back to a normal gait pattern. The student analyzed this phenomenon through intensive exchange with specialists literature, and doctors, and used the learnings to develop this product. In this case, a foot band detects the freezing episodes and reacts to them with a strong vibration to the sheen. All measurements and data are monitored and permanently evaluated by an app. A mini study has confirmed the effectiveness, but a real medical study is unfortunately not possible without financial and additional scientific support. Fortunately, however, there are inquiries. The second work is about the philosophical question whether the autonomous creation of generic art can serve as an evidence for an intelligent system. The robot seen in this film paints its very own artworks without human intervention, which are created almost simultaneously by an artificial intelligence. A generative adversarial network was trained appropriately beforehand, and the results were subsequently painted by a robot. In this work, the exchange with humanities scientists was the basis for the research question and the subsequent evaluation of the results. The project is also remarkable because it is already more than 3 years old and could anticipate current discussions about AI-generated images. This work is about gaining knowledge. It is more basic, scientific, and not for direct commercialization. However, I consider it important because the interdisciplinary exchange not only brought together computer scientists and designers, but also involved humanities experts in the discourse, in the best sense of research through design. Before I show you the third example, I need to say that in 2007, we established a master's program which is grounding on the ideas and philosophy I mentioned before. So in our master program, our students have to make almost 25% of the credit points in interdisciplinary studies at other universities and in other discipline fields. So they have to learn this very early, and they just come back as other types of designers. This third example shows a supportive learning environment for future doctors. In the field of auscultation, auscultation means listening by stethoscope. Using a conventional stethoscope, heart sounds can be searched for, analyzed, and evaluated on a virtual torso. Listening by a stethoscope must be trained very long and intensively during medical school, usually around 800 hours, but in real life it's only less than the 8th part of it. Unfortunately, there is hardly any time during training to sufficiently learn this basic procedure of physical examination. The AR program closes this gap and supplements the traditional practical instruction in a digital form. Here we got, and you can see the added value very easily. Using this software, medical students do have the opportunity to compensate for the lack of practice time and to interpret physiological, pathological, heart sounds outside of their actual training. This master thesis was created in collaboration with cardiologists and students of the University Hospital of Würzburg. In 2005, I founded a scientific institute collaborating with the university, as I mentioned at the beginning, just to connect the students' work and reflections with companies. Additionally, the aim was to review whether the proactive design approach could also prove itself in practice. The Design and System Research Center is focused on applied interdisciplinary research and development in the field of digital information and communication media. In close cooperation between designers and computer scientists, the Institute addresses inter- and transdisciplinary issues in order to develop novel and innovative products and new profession fields. In this project community, computer scientists and communication designers become multimedia translators of impulses and codes to make social and economic actions more understandable. So the aim is to interpret and also to control those new developments. An early institute project is the preoperative planning of disc replacements of the human spine. In case of massive disc defects with neurological symptoms, especially in the lumbar spine, surgery is often the only way to prevent permanent damage to the nerves and relieve affected individuals of pain. In this surgical, an implant is inserted in place of the defective disc and the affected pair of vertebrae is fused. Since the fused area subsequently restricts natural mobility, the size and, above all, the exact position of the implant are crucial. In close cooperation with neurosurgeons and implant manufacturers, we developed the concept for a software program that virtually allows the exact planning of the individual spinal geometry in advance of an operation. After the prototyping development, the program was realized, certified, and is meanwhile used in many European clinics. For a leading German car manufacturer, we have been working for some time on the question of what added value autonomous driving can offer and how this will change the relationship between vehicle and driver. In the future, the driver will become a passenger, and without an appropriate replacement, the car would lose a significant part of its entertainment value. To test new approaches and considerations, we have built a driving simulator that can be used to experience fully immersive driving situations. Here as well, the interdisciplinary approach in this key, is the key, because digital added value in this example can only arise if, in addition to the technological possibilities, we also deal with people and satisfy anthropological needs. Curiosity, a sense of adventure, and the desire to travel are more important in such considerations than technological features. Making the past or the invisible visible can add value to previous car trips and shed new light on the term of educational traveling. In the meantime, there are many good examples that have emerged from proactive interdisciplinary exchange. And yet today, at least in Germany, more and more degrees or degree programs are being developed that further dilute existing areas of study. In design, the situation is particularly vital. In addition to communication design, there is graphic design, visual design, media design, speculative design, transformation design, and much more. If you take a closer look at the curricula, the differences in content are marginal. But the uncertainty among students is growing. There are currently more than 23,000 degree programs in Germany, and many of them differ only in their names. In my view, this is not a very good development. It would be much more appropriate if we were to combine the module structures of the different facilities or the different faculties in such a way that new things can emerge from interdisciplinary cooperations, and young people can learn to trust their own competencies and to value that of others. The teaching of content at universities should be characterized by mutual learning and be measured by the result and not by the fancy title on the business cards. And with these words, I just will end it up. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Scholz. So many interesting real-life examples of different design processes, so a lot to think about. Thank you. Next up in our program is something about the role of living labs by Mr. Valentino Piana, Senior Academic Associate from the University of Applied Sciences of Western Switzerland. So please give a big hand to Mr. Piana.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Today, I would like to shortly introduce a concept which has a lot of examples in the world, which corresponds to some of the things that we just saw under the label of a living lab, which I will try to explain what it is and how we can label a living lab something else that is been born before under headings, but correspond to the true content of interdisciplinary action-oriented research in a specific direction, what a professor would call the transformational design out of this so many thousands way of calling. Okay, I will start from very pedagogical definitions. We are not in a world of definitions. Definitions are not really important. What matters is the dynamics that it's behind the definitions. However, you shall see a definition allows also to clarify the direction we want to go. So living labs are existing things and actions, people, activities, places, in which the user, the human actually, is at the center. Sometimes even not only the user, but the non-user of a technology, of a behavior. For instance, we might look at sustainable social practices and see who is adopting this social practice, looking in the society and asking researchers to approach both the users and the non-users to understand which are the obstacles and what can be done in order to have a wider diffusion of the sustainable social practice. There are open innovation ecosystems, so we are talking not something that is closed in one specific research institute or one specific universities, but that ranges across the different actors, which is very good for an innovation that at the end might not be profitable. That is, of course, if at the end we are generating entrepreneurship, this is good. However, sometimes the sustainable social practice would call for eliminating a product, not consuming. And at the end, there is no company that sells the no consumption. So we need to look at potential co-creation approach in different stages of the creative process, in which students, teachers, universities can go to the real life and take inspiration and take people inside their facilities in order to understand a number of problems. And this questioning the question is one of the main important things that were already underlined before. So that we have a sort of lab outside, lab in a kitchen of a person, to see how the person cook and what can be done for making it better. And they act as intermediaries, citizens, and the fourth or fifth triple helix. Because we want to generate moments of insights, of co-design, that at the point make the flight to the manufacturing stage, to the selling stage, to the download stage, depending whether it is a digital or physical thing, or a digitalized design of a physical product. So you have seen this many times with different names. I suppose that many of you can feel, okay, I come from a researcher, from a teaching institution, from a pedagogical context, but I need to somehow talk with the authorities, with the business, with the citizens at large. So probably you don't call it Living Lab. However, it's important sometimes the name, because this gives a recognition outside in a network, because certain living labs are specialized in health, in well-being, in an aging society, in engaging the patient into the cure of the thing, because the quality of life of the patient may be more important than the technical success of a medicine, of a surgery. So you have many implementation of this concept in cities, supporting the city transformation of urban spaces in the built and the non-built environment. In situation in which there is a rural landscape where agriculture may have played a central role, but where a multifunctional development be called for to avoid the outgoing emigration. Research centers may find a living lab as a new way to make science, science by design, research by the living lab. It's a way in which a discipline expresses its willingness to put much more questions at the beginning of its journey. You might have private companies. There is in Germany a private company that calls itself a living lab and offers this as a service. We have facilities, we have the post-it, we have the mirror boards, we have the thing, and give us what you want to say, and we collect in panel management a number of citizens that come and gives you insight of very practical, sometimes using a fairy tale metaphor. So the citizen participation to science is that the emperor has the clothes naked, actually. So sometimes many technological things that in engineering are super top and trolling the discussion about sustainability, putting a number of potential futuristic technology that doesn't yet exist and say, oh, but the solution will come there. Very quickly, the person say, can I buy a hydrogen car? How much it costs? How many have you sold? Where do I charge, or where do I feel? So this helps a lot in the discussion for a better future. This is the way I will try to go, how these different living labs across the world can give a specific contribution to broad challenges we face. Because it's pretty clear we are on the pathway towards disaster. There is no way we escape that our life and the life of our students will be dominated by the conflicts arising from what is indicated in positive terms, the Sustainable Development Goals, 17 goals. The last is war and peace. For each, you can find a contrast, right? So the first is eradicate poverty, hunger, but yet poverty and hunger is rising right now. So the world has somehow agreed with a fantastic unanimity, something that democratically speaking is amazing, what has been agreed at the international scale in terms of the 17 sustainability goals, which give a definition. Once again, sustainability is much more than that, but it's good that we have names to call. We know that we need to go to a zero emission world. That is, temperature will rise until emissions are positive. So it's not a problem of when. It's not a problem of if. It's a problem of when. If it is too late, we shall have a world too hot for humans and ecosystems. And we are quickly approaching this. I was a reviewer of the IPCC a few years ago, and that's pretty clear that we are not on track. And the most recent, it was presented yesterday, there's a longer word, before the 6th assessment report of the IPCC, called ENOL, the European Network of Living Labs, one of the potential game changers in the debate. So the Living Lab have already been recognized by the scientific community as a potential way, one of the many. But remember, we cannot fail. One of the many shots we have. That is engaging citizens in transforming citizens' life, using science and design for a different lifestyle that is compatible with nature, with zero emission, with zero pollution. The European Commission has taken the Green Deal occasion of the crisis to shift the attention of zero, which is a very simple mathematical element discovered at a point of history 2 times. Powerful, because you don't need to measure too much. You need to go to zero. If you have positive, you are already not on track. So it's very simple and powerful political message, zero. From zero emission to zero pollution. And in this moment, we are participating as the European Network of Living Labs, to which my university contributes, specifically on this element, to the Zero Pollution Action Plan of the European Union, in which the business friendliness, the research-oriented, the environmental commitment of Living Lab is used to give a mediation, potential dynamic mediation between the evident resistance of the industry and the farmers that you can easily expect, from the obvious request of the environmentalists, but we need to find a common ground to move things forward. In these digital tools, many of you are engaged in different ways in producing and using digital aspects. It's evidently a further challenge which connects to broader themes, as we were talking before, about how a globalized world will have careers, will have income, will have consumption habits, will have consumption opportunities, and effective happiness, and how this will be common or not. As I said, the Living Labs are events, single situation in which you use the post-it, in which have an heterogeneous group of people, but they need to be embedded in projects that make these activities making the change at the urban level, at city level, the regional level. And then we focus on the possibility of embedding structurally these activities in permanent bodies. Of course, people, and here Anna Greta Purtin, and you in TAMK, you have really the fantastic person that embeds this type of activities from across many projects, leading different teams. And we need the institutionalization, the fact that TAMK was a leader, pioneer in joining the European Network of Living Labs, being an active member, produced a culture that is distributed across Europe. It's not by chance that even if we didn't met before, we have so many similarities with what it was said before. And this because on one hand, we want to have a structured impact on society for impactful research. I've just published a paper towards a more impactful research in energy. We talked before about climate change and emissions. Obviously, energy is a role. And together with a group of scientists of different disciplines, the first time we met in Switzerland, it was everybody presented what we was doing. And the next time we say, can we work together with post-it, with which are the priority, which are the real thing? And language was one, the use of different methods like living labs or agent-based modeling and public acceptance studies and a number of other situations was another priority. This means that living labs try to constitute communities which are local, but at the same time are also like-minded people that can be across the world. Because again, the power of the network is that if there is a green digital solution somewhere, it should be adopted in so many other cities. I made today the example in Beijing of measurement of the air quality, which brought at the point beyond the official statistics to take action like closing the city center of Beijing and allowing only electric vehicles. So citizen science is there, but not only we don't want only to monitor. No, we want to change. It's not enough that we know we are not on track. We want to be actuators, produce new actuators of the so-called smart city, which is a lot of emphasis on sensor. We can measure so much. We can have the Internet of Things. We can have the business and the global artificial intelligence to interpret the sensors. But at the end, what can we change? Which are the actuators of the smart city, of the smart region? And the Living Lab position themselves as generator of alternatives. If I know that there is a lot of jam, yes, I know, intelligence, it's okay, but I see that I'm in the jam. And what can I do? What system level things can be done? There are a number of examples that can be done, but the key point is you probably need to localize a living lab near you, which may be doing very specific things, and ask and solicit to be the entry point for your own research, and localize elsewhere in Europe across the different networks. Or one, obviously, is the European Network of Living Labs, where the type of knowledge that you create or that you can solicit in your students can be applied or find a partial solution that can be locally implemented. Because we need to connect, as it was said before, with very strong requirements from the youth. What can we do directly? And what we can push politically? Because it's pretty clear behavioral change will not be enough. Power change will be necessary. So the mobilization of the collective intelligence and emotions has obviously also a political implication. But we are researchers, we are open researchers, and we would really need to find alliances so that we don't feel isolated. We don't lose ourselves in the minor detail of what we do without by losing the big picture that the overall sustainability of the system. Because the technology is a social practice to go to zero, in this case emissions, but also pollution, are already available, and which is not something that many researchers want to say because they want to study new things. But still, we are dramatically below the universal adoption. And it will require fitting local conditions. Finland is different from Switzerland, is different from Spain, from Turkey. And yet, European projects may connect these countries in different ways, making urban experiments and involving the political authorities. This is actually a specific example. So we call for a global architecture for spreading as fast as we can in many eco-cities, in many eco-neighborhoods, in many social experiments of transition that pop up across the world, inspired by the sustainability goals and the action of certain governments. But along this unanimity, there is much space for individual and specific actions. So I don't want to take more of your time. Of course, if there are questions, I'm very happy to answer. I simply remind 3 entry points. The European Network of Living Labs, in which you can find artists like Fura de Barbs, Barcelona, is a living lab. But also many others, and you will discover many different orientations, not all. They clearly point to some of the direction I mentioned before. Actually, I'm coordinating the task force for energy and environment. So inevitably, my point of view takes a specific direction. However, there are living labs for many activities and fields. Specifically in Switzerland, we are coordinating a big project changing social practices towards sustainability. And many years ago, I wrote a book, and here you find my discipline is economics. It was the reference of history in the 19th century was mathematical psychics. It was before Freud. So there was a moment in which they had a machine to measure pleasure, and they tried to build a positivistic way of looking at the human machine. And based on that, economics has been largely developed as a mathematical tooling to demonstrate that our is the best of all possible worlds. With some economists talking about the optimality of all choices on one hand, or the restriction of the second best bundling. Now, we are in a moment in which this positivistic approach is incompatible with what we were talking before. We need a dramatic change in paradigm. Positivism cannot be the referential philosophy of science. Because from a positivistic point of view, science is neutral. I make heat, and for what it is used, for a crematory during a war, or for heating buildings, the same. No, it's not the same. The science of climate, the science of 21st century is a value-laden science that has goals that want to be impactful, and want to change the life of the people for the better. We are not neutral. We take a stance. Perhaps others will have different opinions. We accept that in science, because in the moment you have interdisciplinarity, you have different points of view, to some extent, different opinions, which need to be reconciled, and you need to find a gravity point. So, in this book, you find a number of economic approach that takes a stand for climate change mitigation. And the approach mitigation, the cutting of emission as a benefit, not as a cost. Because if you frame as a cost, as the neoclassical theory does, the higher the ambition, the higher the cost. And at the end, you stop. And you say, oh, at the end, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees, the same. No, it's not the same. We have tipping points. We are going to a rapid disaster. And I'm not alone. And the entire scientific community on climate tells with the IPCC reports several times. And we indicate a number of way out of the crisis. In this, everyone has to play his little role. I tried to do this some years ago. I presented this book in Copenhagen in 2009. I was present in Paris when the Paris Agreement was signed and translated into my national language, which is Italian, because I do think that democracy matters. People need to take a specific knowledge of the peace treaty that we have with nature and act accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Piana. A very powerful and important message. Now we can actually take questions for either one of our first speakers, so Professor Scholz or Mr. Piana. So if you have a question for like both of them or one of them, then let's have them now. So please raise your hand and I'm going to give you the mic. Now is your chance to voice your comments and questions and thoughts and ideas. Any questions? No? There, yes.
Hello, my name is Irisa Veta. I come from Bulgaria. I work for the Medical University of Sofia. And my question is to you, Professor Scholz. I was very, very intrigued by your slide on design process and how it can apply to our health system. Because once again, we're talking about how to make sure that the system is beneficial for patients, for patient outcomes, but also for physicians. Strangely, well, not strangely, but habitually, the design of the system is again put in the hands of the experts. And I was so excited first to see your first slide going, oh, okay, so, sorry, to have the customer first, the 0 point, the starting point, and that's just perfect. You talk to your customer and then you design the process. But then you took it 2 steps back with the minus at the challenge recognition. And I was wondering, would that be again designing on somebody else's behalf? Because I also really like the framing thing, the way we frame issues, we kind of tend to find solutions. So I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I wonder how this design process can be applied to building a system that, of course, should be built by experts because you should know. On the other hand, experts have how do you call it, the cognitive blind spots. Once you know too much, you just actually don't know anything. So would you kind of elaborate? Thank you.
So I hope I got all your questions because it's a little silent here. Yeah, first of all, in behalf of this graphic I was demonstrating going to -2, I personally believe in the knowledge of many people, and I believe in the knowledge of young people and the wishes of young people. That's the reason why I do concern and I do believe in their ideas. Just like an example, maybe that is making that clear what we were talking about yesterday, about the power of electronic media or digital media in behalf of educational systems nowadays. So we learned during the pandemic that we have to use digital media, and we're talking about the technical equipment, and we're talking about the possibilities we can reach. But when we made our little research, and this is just an example to make it clear, when we made our research on what do we win through digital media via the pandemic, and what do we lose? The loss was very high on the social field. So we were asking the students, is there an added value? And yes, is this added value more important than the loss? And it's the same when you talk about health systems, for example. I think we cannot design a good idea on a specific system when we do not talk to people, when we do not get back their impressions of what is necessary, what is good for us. So it's a pretty anthropological way. It's talking with a lot of people, and this is gathering the ideas of a lot of people. So -2 for me means this is focusing on ideas which are not directly on the line, which is not something that, for example, the industries or systems normally do. If you talk to medical doctors about health systems, you will get a completely different answer to when you talk to patients. So for me, it's necessary in this phase of -2 to talk to everybody. So that brings you up at least to completely new ideas and new attempts in designing new ways of new challenges or new possibilities. So by the way, that's the reason why in -2, I always talk about challenge. It's not named solution, because in this phase, you will not be sure whether this is at least working out good or not. So it's very important to see that a challenge stays as a challenge as long as it is proved by those people who are using it. But, we made so many experiences in the past. Whenever you talk to companies, you will just do whatever those companies do have on their target line. And I think young people do have their own ideas of the future. And we heard about the interesting aspects you were mentioning. I mean, if we talk about zero pollution, if we talk about zero carbon, whatever, this is absolutely necessary and this is scientific. But we will never reach those targets if we cannot convince people that this is, first of all, a must, but we have to communicate this must as a challenge as well, because otherwise we will not get them to go into the same direction. So that's the reason why this -2 experience is so focused on different opinions and not on the one of the experts.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you very much to both of you for your presentation. My name is Shane from the Department of Education, Western Australia. It's very pleasing to see your presentations integrate emerging technologies such as virtual reality. My question is to either of you, to what extent should our schools of 6 to 17-year-olds be integrating emerging technologies such as virtual reality in preparing them for a post-secondary pathway?
Going to both of them.
Well, first I would say that for a child it's very important to have roots and to stand really on the ground. And the fact that the mind and the vision can go far away makes them giant, but if they lose their root, they will soon become balloons and losing any possibility of orientation. So there is a moment in which it's very important first to radicate in the physical reality and in the historical reality and the mythological reality, because we need to talk about stories, and stories are powerful anthropological. Then I would say that the fact that begins to use these technologies, artificial intelligence, video games, or whatever, is pretty natural for our age. And then I would couple this with programming, with coding, which is debunking the fact that these nice things go and why, bo. So I would relatively early start with coding, whether it is logo, whether it is something else, does not really matter. What is important is to understand an active, that I design the video game. Okay, I can be player with a multi-internet massive game together with others, and I accept a certain role and the liquidity that is inside. But if I want to play with my friends, I should be able to exit the room and go walking to them. And at the same time, I should be able to say, hey, I understand that I want to make this change in the rules, changing on the video games. So in active attention, with my friends, we play this game, I want to innovate the rule. This is what in life will allow to be inevitably a big user of technology, but without losing the fact that we humans are superior.
Maybe besides the fact of coding, I would just say thinking. I would implement maybe narratives, which is very important, because if you have a focus on emerging technologies, which is somehow a must, it's changing all the time, and it's going very fast. And yesterday I talked to Kizzy, just an example that is for me very important to explain what I mean. If you talk to teachers nowadays, they say, young people, they are not interested in reading anymore. So if they have to prepare for a test, they only have to read like 10 pages in a scientific book or whatever, they struggle. So they say they are not able to read anymore. But the same kids do read a Harry Potter book within 650 pages within 1 week. So we do not have a problem with the medium. It's in both cases, it's a book. Even the interactivity is the same. So it's not a media thing, but it has a lot to do with narratives. So if we can spread important information in a way like Harry Potter books does it, then we would maybe inform young people in a better way. And there's a lot of solutions using new technologies because they have a fascination, but they are changing all the time. It's a variable thing. So you should not be on a good track if you focus on technology only. So there's a lot of ideas we have to develop in ways of new thinking and new narratives.
Thank you. That's a really important point. I think, my personal opinion is that the best teachers that I've had, they're also like great storytellers. So they really involve these narratives in their teaching a lot. And I think that there's a lot of people here who would agree. There's apparently a question online as well. So can we get it up here? Yes. Mr. Piana, thank you for your interesting presentation. In today's world, what do you think are the biggest challenges for living labs to function effectively in solving complex problems? And this comes from Ms. Ella Kallio. So.
But the biggest challenge, that is the difficulty. Well, the difficulty is to some extent to select what to do, because there is so much to do. And at the same time, to localize others that do complementary things so that we can somehow delegate. The complexity of the things can be reduced if we are part of a network. And this is also the opportunity I see. That is, the world of living labs is structuring itself. And so everyone has a contribution to make. If there is a living lab, choose one topic, choose one potential city of application, and begins to work and pose questions and look for where else there are solutions. So I think that the challenge is related to the multiplicity of potential pathway, and there is a need at a point of simplification, inevitably. And we need to focus on something practical. We need to focus on something that at a point goes to a project which is somehow funded by somebody, or at least can reasonably divide the work so that it can be performed by volunteers. So the challenges are to be recognized from the outside. At the same time, I think that mapping the world of living labs and finding its place, beginning a path and solving some of the potential elements. Perhaps one way to begin with is also adopting something that was already done somewhere else, which would be an innovation for the local communities. And in the process of involving, it's a easy win, because I've seen it working somewhere else. I know that the companies offer, I know what can be done from an infrastructure point of view, and I simply need to convince the people in the community that this might be helpful and worth pursuing. And this would generate the trustworthiness that will be very necessary capital to have for the next steps in asking the community what we can teach the rest of the world, which is obviously is a step forward. So I would say the biggest challenge is to simplify, even if in general our attitude is to be aware of the complexity of the world we live in.
Thank you. We can still take a question from here if there's someone who would like to ask something. Yes?
Morning. Easy one for both of you. If you had all the power in the world, how would you change the curriculums of the universities and universities of applied sciences in Europe? Both of you.
These easy questions are always nice.
I might take that challenge. Yes. And then you are the dean, so I don't have the power. You have, and you already did, because you wrote a lot of curriculum, right? I did. Yes. Yeah. So I'm a sort of kamikaze here. Taking to extreme the potential changes. Okay. So if we really have a challenge-driven research, then a mapping of overall the world. Let's start from something simple. First, we completely go online and we completely go delocalized, and we offer to all students in the world the possibility to come virtually to us and conversely. And we are open to have students from all over the world. If you do that, then you don't want to do everything yourself, because you are in competition or simply delegation of tasks with every other similar institutions in the world. So you need to somehow find your specificity, make it clear in front of a wider audience, be recognized by others, mutual recognition. And then you have this architectural setup. Then if it is we are challenge driven, then probably there are lists of challenges, or we already know what is the problem, or the list, a huge list of problems. So again, if there is a selection, okay, I will cover more or less this type of challenges, and I would like to develop specific capabilities in teaching to people to become agents of change in this challenge. At that point, it is inevitably broad, but at that point, you begin the more traditional way. You look at the competencies. You inquire experts and non-experts to understand which are the list of competencies that a person addressing or even solving this challenge could require. And this becomes a sort of, when you have a competency, you have a portfolio of competencies, you have a description of competencies, and then you might have ways to ascertain whether a certain person has a competence or not. Sometimes it was called exam, but let's talk about the certification of competence. And then this becomes the practical way in which you, at the beginning, select the people that comes to you. Not everybody will be suitable to what you want to do. And in terms of these competencies, if somebody has already competence, certified, that's fine. The teaching becomes on the competencies that are crucial for solving the challenge, but you don't have at the moment. Obviously, this would require at the same time a selection of the teachers, right? So it is, these things goes together, and you will have a pool of teachers, some of them physical linked to your place, but others again from all over the world. So actually, you need to at a point have some headlines, some key words, allowing others to understand what you do. At the same time, you build your curricula across competencies, which will give, on one hand, specialization, on the other hand, flexibility, which is the contradiction of today's labor market. You need to be able to do very specific things, but to borrow something else. And this is clearly contradiction, which call for an education that at the point gives tools, but especially a critical stance capable of finding which is the tool for the next thing. Because at the beginning, you need with students to keep it simple. So the first and second year, probably you will need to repeat certain things to everyone. At the same time, you need to develop meta competencies. That's obvious. It's the transversal competencies, in which you are not only capable of addressing certain things, but you are also capable of resetting the questions. I was very philosophical. I go for the true expert.
I'm not sure whether you are interested in my opinion because you asked him, but I would say let's make universities places of quality and not quantity, first of all, because this is a big pressure. It comes from the politics. And then my personal wish would be if universities could be the place for new ideas in science and not like more and more basic educations like, even the industries does nowadays, because we have to, as you mentioned, make a far-sighted look into the future, because we do have work to do. And the good story is that problems are work solvers and the other way around. So if we have problems, we have work, and there's a lot of problems coming up. And we do have young people that faces those problems, and they have to look for solutions. So we have to give them space, time, and if you ask me, money enough to handle those things. So if universities will not longer be places for science and scientific aspects, I don't see any reason why we should have them.
Thank you for these ideas. They're going to be useful as we are in the middle of a process of renewing our curricula here at TAMK. So, that's good ideas. Thank you. I think we can still have one more question as we are not in a terrible rush. So if there's a question here, then please raise up your hand. Or if there's one online, I can't see right now, but if there is, you can just put it on the screen and I'll read it then. So any more questions, comments? Okay. If not, then soon. We say thank you. Let's give a big hand to both of our speakers today. So there's also apparently there's a live drawing going on right now as we are having this seminar day in a similar fashion as we did yesterday. So can we get to see how does that look like at the moment in the screen? I'm going to teach you another one. So please, torilla tavataan. Okay, good. Now remember that I'm not going to tell you what that means, but in the coffee break, look for a Finnish person, ask that person, what does torilla tavataan mean? And then you're going to get explanation. Okay, so now we're going to have the coffee break. It's half an hour, a generous half an hour. Get back here 11 o'clock and we're going to continue with the panel discussion. Okay, thank you.
Renata, all good? Yeah?
Okay then, welcome back everybody. Hope you had a nice cup of coffee or whatever your preference is. Next, we're gonna have our panel discussion. Panel discussions are always my personal favorite in these kind of programs because you get to see and hear so many different people with so many different views, and you get this dynamic and a lot of different angles to different topics. So I'm sure that it's gonna be a nice ride for us as well. So I'm gonna present you the host of the panel discussion, and then I'm gonna hand it over to you. So Ms. Virpi Heinonen, our Latin America and Caribbean team leader. So over to you.
Thank you, Henry. It is so nice to be here. I have a personal motto of my own. When the weather is like this, like gray and awful and ugly, like it is today, I have to wear plenty of color. So this is why color. We have a very nice and distinguished panel. I want to get a glimpse of what is happening here because one of our panelists is arriving just right now. He arrived this morning from China on an airplane. Welcome. And as we still have the strike going on, he took a taxi to Tampere. He took this nice Tesla taxi, right? And it ran out of power 40 kilometers before Tampere. So he had to wait for another taxi, but he just made it on time. I will ask I don't speak anymore. I will ask our guests to give a short introduction. Who are they and what do they do? And then we go to our topics. And of course, we would love to have also participation from you. So if you want to be active, you can also throw in some questions and so forth. So yeah, maybe. Do you want to start?
Yep, just a brief
Marco?
introduction.
Yes,
Yep.
please.
Thank you very much. My name is Marco Rimkus. I'm from Emden-Leer University of Applied Science. That's in the northwest of Germany. I basically have a professorship in human resource management and organization, but I'm vice president for studies and teaching since, let's say, 1.5 years ago. Yeah, very briefly.
Okay, I'm next. Okay, hello everybody. My name is Silja Kostia, and I'm here working here at TAMK as a head of international master degree program, and I'm also a very active RDI player. So I started in TAMK in January 2020, and the COVID started in March 2020. So that a little bit over 3 years here at TAMK has been quite intensive, not only me, but also for TAMK. I'm also TAMK alumni. So I have graduated from Master of Educational Leadership program, MELT program, and originally I had my PhD from University of Helsinki. So I have a long career in different higher education institutions in Finland as a teacher, developer, researcher, and leader. So it's good to be here.
Thank you.
Oi, yeah.
Good morning, everyone, and thank
This is
you,
our-
Verpi, for this wonderful opportunity. And what an honour and privilege it is to be in Finland at this world-class event, speaking to all of you. And I'd like to acknowledge Australian Schools Plus, who have supported my wonderful colleague here, Steffi Salazar, and myself to travel all this way to learn from all of you. So I'm a school principal in a remote community of Western Australia called Marble Bar. It is in the beautiful Pilbara, and I recommend all of you to try and get to Australia and come up to the Pilbara. I lead a very small, culturally and linguistically diverse school community of only 30 children, but boy, are we making an impact in culturally responsive STEAM education. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Marietta Muhonen. I work at the Hanze Applied University. It's the student city in the north of the Netherlands. It's a multi-sectoral university, but my part is I'm the director of the School of Education. So our biggest bachelor is that we educate teachers for primary schools, but we have also a master program what is for teachers on all levels, also for applied universities. And we have teacher programs, and I'm very happy with that there are so many colleagues of me here they teach sport teachers for all levels, and we have art schools with art teachers. So it's very nice for us that we are here together also for the first time.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael Zhang. I come from China. 32 hours ago, I left my house, come to this meeting, and even the train strike or the Tesla supercharge station couldn't stop me, but I'm still 1 minute late. Yeah. Very nice to meet all of you. I believe I'm the only representative from China. We are Nankai Pauling Education. So my great-grandfather is the one who founded Nankai University and the series schools. So right now we're rerunning it from kindergarten all the way to high school. And this time we come here with a program called the Pivot, is helping students to get more vocational trainings with international universities to find other ways to help Chinese students now isolated from other part of the world. Thank you.
Wow, what a group of talented people, a lot of skills and a lot of international knowledge here. So I feel actually really humbled to be here in your company. So let's start the discussion and let's try to be active as well if you feel so. So I prepared you some questions. Let's keep this as a dialogue so you can pop in and there is no like right order or wrong order. You just raise your hand and you go when you want to speak, and we circulate the microphones. We had some issues with the headset, so we prefer to use these ones. So first of all, I would like to ask you, what is your outlook of the future of education? What are your thoughts about that? Who wants to go first?
I will.
Oh.
So in my introduction, I spoke about leading a culturally and linguistically diverse school community of predominantly First Nations, Australian, Aboriginal children. So when I reflect on the future of education, I go back to Mark Kirch's session on Monday, Punk Education, who really challenged us to reflect on what is the purpose and the motivation for our students of 2023. And I reflect on a conversation that I had with my governing school council when I first began as the principal of Marble Bar School back in 2017. I asked them, what is it that you want from me as your school principal? And they came back with a resounding Nyamal language, which is the first language of Marble Bar and the surrounding area. Nyamal is a critically endangered Australian language with less than 10 speakers left. So in terms of the future of education for Marble Bar, we have a moral obligation in Australia to preserve the language of our First Nations people, because if we don't, we will lose it. The future of education is integrating the culture of our First Nations Australians with the Australian curriculum. And at Marble Bar, we have made a decision to integrate the language, culture, and history of our Nyamal people into, for example, STEAM education, an integrated pedagogy of science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics. And what a powerful session this morning about the merging of academic endeavours in our curriculum in our school. So at Marble Bar School, the future is looking really exciting, but challenging for those who work in the school. It's changing our mindset about how we do things for our children of the 2020s.
Yes, Celia.
So my perspective is a little bit different. That was very interesting to listen that. But before TAMK, I used to work as a dean of the faculty and as a part of board of directors, and that's why I think I started to think this Virpi's question from the Finnish education point of view, and also that how we stay competitive in the market, educational market. So I think that in the future, our education path consists of shorter periods of education than today, but we return to education more frequently than we do now. And also that the implementation of education is even more digital and flexible than it is today, and probably also in a more international context than it is in Finland today. So also I think that the previously learned, either in formal or informal learning situations, is recognized in a larger extent than today. And how to do it will be kind of basic competence of every teacher. Because I remember that kind of struggling or these lot of questions about, can I accept this or not? Something that the student already can do, or the skills or knowledge which has been previously learned. So instead of kind of doing several things just for sure, several times just for sure. And also I think that the collaboration, which I actually studied in my MBA work, so between educational institutions and the organizations, especially the industry, who are hiring our engineers and business people and all the kind of professionals, it has to be more close and goal-oriented than it's today. And actually, I'm sure that we will have the kind of forms of collaboration which we don't know yet. About the competition, which will be, as I said, it will be much harder in the future than it's today. And that's why I think the higher education, we should have more like a user-oriented mindset when we design education, and it was a very good presentation about that, and also challenge ourselves. Because at least in Finland, the industry is kind of, or also other organizations, they are competing about the experts and in labor in general. So they are also organizing this kind of talent parts, and the working places are learning environments nowadays, and probably more in the future. So that is also something that we have to take into consideration when we are developing our own own products, the educational products, and how we organize the education. So more opportunities for learners, I think, harder competition to us, and then the kind of a need for more close collaboration with all the partners and stakeholders. So that's and of course the good leadership is needed.
Always.
Thanks.
Yep. I just would like to add because I think it's perfectly in line with what you said. I'm coming from a public university in Germany, and we as a public universities, we are facing a couple of challenges, demographic challenges, and more or less the number of students remain stable since many, many years. So there's no increase. There's one group of universities who is significantly increasing their market shares, and these are the private universities. Unfortunately, I have to say, but we can learn a lot from the private universities, and they are exactly doing what you were just asking for. So they have a clear focus on specific target groups, for instance, and they are able to attract people for whom normally studying is not an option. Right, so attracting different target groups. I think this is one of our goals that we have to fulfill in the future. And then they are much more focused on labor markets. So they have a clear job profiles in mind, and they are trying to attract people, saying, so if you do this kind of study program, you will be able to enter the labor market in that specific area. And of course, for them also, the studying is like an investment in your personal biography, and they promise this investment will make sense for you, so we will ensure that you reach your goal. And this is something which goes very much in line with, let's say, a personal relationship, with really good service level and all this stuff. I think that is something that we learned, for instance, from Carita also in her very first speech, when she said we are on eye level with our students and we are trying to accompany them very well. And the last thing, and this is exactly what you said, it's about flexibility. And this is where we at many German universities are not good at, being flexible. That people are able to align their private life perfectly with their study program. Part-time studies, unusual lecture hours, for instance, combining digital with normal traditional lectures and all this stuff, micro credentials and all the things. And this is something which we definitely have to learn in Germany.
Yes, thank you for your words, because I think I also want to speak in line with what you are saying. So I'm not going to repeat what you are saying, but putting something extra. So what does that mean for teachers, by example, when you collaborate? And who is the teacher? We have, traditional, the teacher at the vocational school or higher vocational school. But also the teacher in the company or in the governmental organization where our students are learning, and what does that mean for them? Also with the last Mr. Piano, that how are you doing that? So I think in the future, more and more teachers also have to be like educational designers. That how do you really design a good hub or lab or whatever it is, that the students can reach their goals, and also on which levels can they do that? That, by example, to start a design cycle process research, the first question, what is a good question for, by example, a second-year bachelor student? That somebody has to help them with it, because otherwise it can be a much too big question where they don't succeed and they don't get a successful experience. So I think we all have to learn how are we doing it. And the nice thing also in these days, in this conference, you see that many countries are doing experience on it, and we have all kind of successful experiences. But we also have to develop, I think, all much more in how do we do that collaboration, and how do we also teach or help those companies in a way. Of course, it's about real life problems they work on, but they also have to teach and help the students with it with an educational view. And what you say last is leadership, and leadership on actually every level. And the lead in my sector, you have the leadership like you are from a primary school teachers, that we are also looking how can our students learn good at that school, what kind of learning culture is there. My own background is organizational psychology, and I see that it's very much needed in a lot of organizations, that when the company or whatever the place, learning place is, when everybody is learning there a lot and there's really a learned culture, the students who are coming there are learning a lot more. But what is a learned culture in an organization? And there also, I think, the educational organizations and the companies have to work together in exploring that and doing that better and better in the world. So much more to say.
Okay. So what's the future? That make me think about the airman Elon Musk, right? His everything about space, and we could be just a carrier of the DNA, or we could be the tool of the AI. So I think for future, we have to think as a whole human race, because China has 1.5 billion people, 1/5 of the whole population of the world, and our kids waste so much time in competing. You guys won't believe, for high school, they have to compete each other to go to a university. They study 12 days straight and then go home for half day and then come back to the school study, and that lasts for 1 or 2 years. So, but then after competing, you go to the university, you go to the society, go to the work, you find out actually what we need was a collaboration, right? So we need to we need to balance, or we need to control in the educational way. It's just like teach the kids more collaborating, and especially at university levels, schools, they have projects, collaborate each other, and they do co-studies. And also in the elementary or the high school levels, also the teachers, they need to have a more worldwide mindset. I think right now the problem is we don't see the resource outside of China. And I believe most of you guys probably know less about China too. It's the whole world. We need to somehow break down all the barriers, and we have to share our resource, because afterwards we're wasting our time. We study so hard, we're trying to learn some things, but somebody else will already do very good at it. And as a human race, we don't have to competing on that, but instead of that, we can leverage on each other's advantage, and then move together. I think for a big topic as a future outlook of the education, that's my input. Yeah, thanks.
Very good comments and remarks from all of our speakers. And I think this opportunity is all about that. That's why we are here, reconnecting, connecting, and taking opportunities and in these networks, and also learning from each other. Maybe I would like to point out one thing that I didn't hear in any of your discussion. How do we respond actually to or how we involve our end users into this process? So how can we take advantage of our students, children and students also, in designing the future of their education? Yeah. But anyhow, I had a second question, and it's about the opportunities of international networks, and how do you see that? What kind of opportunities the type of networks can provide for you in your own context? Who wants to start? Shane, go ahead.
So Marble Bar is one of the remotest communities, not only in Australia, but the world. So for those of you who don't know the geography of Australia, Marble Bar is located about 1,500 kilometres north of Perth, the capital of Western Australia, and around 3,500 to 4,000 kilometres west of Sydney. So it is very remote. It is sparsely populated. But during the COVID-19 pandemic, we really capitalized on technology to connect. It was essential. And as is the case in I'd say all of our education systems, we have been creative in finding solutions to connect with each other. And in Marble Bar, we developed a virtual teacher development centre for the purpose of connecting teachers in our small community to educators, including, for example, China, New York, California, etc. Because what we're learning from America, for example, is that there is this insatiable thirst to learn about the First Nations culture of Australia. So virtual teacher development is very, very new. It's a different way of connecting. It's not a Zoom, it's not a two-dimensional interaction. It's an immersive experience to go inside a virtual world and act as an avatar in connecting with another educator. And back in May, a couple of years ago, I did my first presentation to avatars, and it does take a bit of getting used to, but it's getting into the mindset of our students that they are immersing themselves in digital technologies. And myself as an educator, I need to be in that mindset as well to make sure that the networking opportunities are relevant in 2023 for our school community. So that's a way that we've used to connect with educators, and we're particularly interested in connecting with educators of culturally and linguistically diverse populations, First Nations populations around the world. And I'm very excited learning about the Sami people here in Finland. Thank you.
Yeah, many of you might have not known that we also have our indigenous people, the Sami people in Lapland. So we were just discussing about that. So there are also some interesting exchange of ideas there for you. Who wants to go next?
Want to say a really small, that also I love also the really small good examples. And in our master program, we have that they all have an international body, and most of the time somebody with about the same kind of job in another country. It's really small, but they connect online. And by example, I know the program manager, she's very enthusiastic because she had Mark, the punk pedagogic man, as her international body. So it was, of course, very inspiring to have him. But that was really, we get back from the students, but also from a committee who was looking at our master, that very original way. You can do really small steps for it. And for us, it's also very important that international networks and international experience, because the whole world is becoming so international and intercultural. So how can students learn in international networks? And I always say, also when the rest of their career they are in the Netherlands, they are in an intercultural world. And things have so much changed, like our university. Like when I was a student more than 30 years ago in my the same city where I still live. When you compare it with now, we have a lot of Chinese students from everywhere, and our whole city has changed. There's an international vibe, and you see it on the market everywhere. So In the Netherlands, there's also a discussion that do we have too much international students? Can we carry it on? And also our government is now going a little bit back in it. This is big discussions. And of course we need it and we believe in it, but it's also how far are we going with it? Yeah, the balance. And I want to say one thing. You say the Master of Educational Leadership, and you told me yesterday that you were a student. Once I had a presentation about it, but I really admire your master, that you have such a mixed group online, and to tell very short, very good, that they start their master with 3 weeks or a period in Finland to get to know each other. And the rest of the master is online from the whole world. And yeah, it was really, really good how you succeed with this program. We can learn all much about it.
Maybe just to add to your point, learning, to be honest, is for my current function the most important thing in this like international cooperation networks. And when we, for instance, we are very much looking at our colleagues in the Netherlands, but also at Scandinavian countries. Therefore, we are here because I think these are, from our perspective, the most advanced educational sectors where we can learn a lot. And I personally think that these kind of exchanges and also inviting people from the Netherlands or from Finland, for instance, to us helps very much to change the mindset that has been mentioned already several times, because it's a different thing when we propose something that we should try to change organizational structures or curricula, for instance. But it's much better if somebody can prove that it is working in a specific country, in a specific environment. I think it helps a lot to, let's say, make this shift in mindset, which is, from my perspective, the most important thing for us at the moment.
So, okay, again, I have this kind of a Finnish education perspective. So we are a small country with only a few people, so we need international networks. And our higher education institutions really need the international networks, not only for education, have this kind of collaboration and implementation together, but also for our research and development work, and also actually the regional development. So it's something that it's kind of something that we can't survive without international networks. So I think from a personal point of view, as an expert, so as quite often the collaboration with your international partners, the multidisciplinary collaboration, the creating new ideas for projects and so on, or it might be easier with your international partners than in-house sometimes. So it's kind of also fun, and it gives you energy and new ideas and this kind of joy of your work. But also I think that at least in Europe, but probably also globally, that we have, because we have these international networks, and then everybody's networks and the national networks, and then also to try to influence things, the lobbying and then also this kind of making policy recommendations. I think that there's a lot of kind of power and in these networks, not probably officially in that kind of power, but then unofficially, and because this is the word of networks and this kind of also informal kind of platforms and so on. So that way, I think that international networks are also very valuable, and we should also give our teachers and expert resources to maintain and create these networks, because it really gives, I think, to everybody, they give some kind of added value to their work, and also kind of enjoying the work more.
Yeah, for the past 3 years is a COVID. So for us in China is more like a intranet instead of an internet. Everything was blocked.
Difficult to travel, yeah.
Yes, so we can only social with foreign friends who are stuck over there. We're all stuck there. But fortunately, right now everything opened up. We definitely value our international networks. That's why we're here, and I believe most of the Chinese people, they want to create a better their credential or their working experience with international experience. So I believe there's a lot of chances for people who are in the similar. You guys are very welcome to go to China to find out that actually there's a lot of chances we can build up different kind of exchanges. We have friends from Australia asking us to send mathematics teachers over there to do exchange, right? So we have friends from England want to do summer camps to interacting with our students over there. So Oriental culture is so special for people from Europe, but we have history, right? We have history, and we have our ancestors has histories with Europeans. How we interactive in our education philosophies. Actually, for our Nankai system, we learned a lot from YMCA. We learned a lot from Christian church schools. So it proved it's better with, if you hybrid the Western philosophy with Chinese culture together, it could be the best way to educate the youth. Youth that way, we were honored to have several prime minister as our graduates. So I think in the future, if we can interactive more with our friends in this seminar, I think we can create a lot of chances in the school system.
I just love seeing people from such diverse backgrounds, and even if you think that Finland is this country that everybody comes to learn from education, I think you are right. We have so much to learn from Australia and from China and from Germany, Netherlands, and other countries, and all the countries of who you are here. So it is all about good practices, and world is now such an open and global, as we mentioned, and with this power of networks, I think we have a big task altogether. Now that we are talking about the networks, I would like to know if you could share some sort of a good practice that you think you have achieved throughout these international networks. So give us a little example. I know Shane already gave some, but I know you have some more in the pocket.
At Marble Bar, we are really proud of our Marble Bar Virtual World, which is also the winner of the Asia Pacific ICT Alliance Public Sector Digital Government Solution of 2022. We have been on an incredible 4-year journey of building something amazing from our partnerships and relationships. Another common theme coming through this week's conference. And teachers thrive on support. And at Marble Bar, we have had a professional learning community of technical leaders, and I know Airborne IT are watching this live stream from Perth, Western Australia. Our cultural leaders of Ngunnawal elders working two-way with our students. So it's really great to hear your point about the two-way Oriental Chinese and the Western ways of thinking coming together, because that is what we've done in the Marble Bar Virtual World. It starts with our knowledge holders, our Ngunnawal elders coming into our school and working two-way with teachers to drive the Australian curriculum for our culturally and linguistically diverse students. Now, we have extended that to the Marble Bar Virtual World, which is a place for storing, preserving and showcasing the First Nations culture of our Ngunnawal people, which is now being seen by audiences around the world. Now, last year, we were very proud to have the Prime Minister's Prize for Science teaching, but we are also Australia's innovation of last year. And it is incredible to think what can be born in the smallest of communities around the world. It starts with that vision, the collective vision of people working together for the benefit of the teaching and learning programs of our students. So we are now developing a second world which integrates Aboriginal astronomy into the virtual world, because what we're learning is that there are many people around the world that want to learn about the oldest living culture on our planet, the Australian, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture. 60,000 years of knowledge waiting to be shared. Now, there are some elements of the culture that are off limits, and the Ngunnawal elders guide that process.
I want to tell one example. It's an Erasmus program, and I think it's what you say, when you work together on a goal, there you learn a lot, but also, like I have an example that it's from an Erasmus program from, I think, five countries, 5 applied universities, teachers, researchers, and students who work on to develop, it was one part of intercultural competence program. So they meet each other in real life, online, and they really became a community, a working community. When they were at our place, I was a half a day in company with them, and then I really feel that, hey, they had known each other, they are enthusiastic, and they make really results. So the results, the project is now ended, and it's now implemented also in our curriculum, and they can do it in all other places. It's in a way very simple, but when you really do it and get to know each other, it's very inspiring for both the students and the lecturers to do this kind of project, of course. And I think the Finnish are also very good in starting those projects. Like yesterday was Edusta also. Somebody has to take the initiative and the leader and to build on the network. But yeah, these kind of projects are bringing much also to my colleagues on other disciplines.
Yes, I have a very practical example of international network advantages. We, as a University of Applied Sciences in Germany, we are not allowed to assign PhD titles, unfortunately. This is pretty much under discussion, and some of us are, but most of us, we are not allowed to. But we found ways to do this together with other international partners to simply offer PhD titles, or this, at least the way to a PhD title, if we cannot do it alone. This is a very good practical example. And also double degree programs. We do this, for instance, with your neighboring country, Norway. We have double degree programs, which is quite attractive for our students if they are aiming like an international career.
I would like to share one of our program. It could be in one of our high school in Chongqing. We have a after school program. It's for cooking, and a lot of which is cooking Chinese food, spicy ones. So yes, we have a professional chef who will come over and teach them. And then there's only 20 seats, so the student would wait in front of the computer. When the number out, they have to grab the number right away. So each semester, only 20 kids got to join the club. So first, this benefits the kids when they go overseas to study, because food is another language to make friends, right? So they can cook Chinese food, they can make friends, they can invite people come over, and they can social with their professors, give them A's, right? So then later on, we have another friend in New York and collaborate with us. What they do is they put it into one kind of like federation with several schools. They have the same kind of like a kitchen lab. So what they do is kids, they videotape their cookings and they write down their recipes in English and then post it on a network. And everybody would reading it, or everybody would copy, say, hey, is this a Chinese recipe? I would try it. Or this is a Singapore recipe, I would try it. And then in the end of the year, they will vote it, the top 20 recipes, they publish a book coming out. So this is a very small thing, but I think that's an example of how international network would change the way how we teach. The students, all of the students who take this class, they got A's in chemistry lab test, because cooking is the same thing, right?
Yeah, I really like that cooking example, because my program has the same kind of structure than MEL. We have intensive weeks, and then we have online lectures and group works and so on between the intensive weeks. And last intensive week we have this sauna event again. And then, but also one of the student from actually he's living in Finland, part from Bangladesh. He cooked a very delicious meal to us others, and then it's so easy to discuss and then compare the cultures and the cuisines while somebody's cooking and so on. So I think that they're making food is very good in international relations. But I have also some nice examples from a previous job. We had this, we applied actually 3 times for this Erasmus Mundus funding, and then finally got it, and then have had this kind of joint master degree program from urban sustainability together with our good partners, and that is something, of course, that would not happen without this international network we already created, developed, and maintained for many years. But also as I mentioned, I'm quite new at TAMK, but still it's important that when the organization has these good networks, for example, Caritas team and Virpi's team and all these kind of already existing networks, that we utilize them efficiently. For example, my one example is that thanks to this TAMK's network, so first commissioned group of master students of my program started last June, and there are some probably next group starting in August and so on. So it's and also when I was kind of planning, we had a project idea. So I asked Virpi that about her networks in Latin America, that how about contacting them, and then they starting to create this project application and so on. So it's because sometimes it's good to have the networks are based on personal relationships, but then it's important in the organizational level, the culture of organization, the support that you share also your networks, and then you are ready to give them away to someone else and so on, because and in that way the personal relationships are very important, but also the readiness to share your networks and your kind of connections, even very personal ones. Thanks.
That is one of my mottos. Sharing is caring, So we've learned from this, and we are here all to share today. Carita, in her previous session, she made a difficult question, and now I'm trying to make even a more difficult question for our guests. And I give you only time to answer for one thing, one suggestion. So I'm asking you that if you could change one thing about the current state of our global education, let's say, or in your own context, what would that be? And then we can have some questions from our audience that I'm quite sure they are eager to bombard you with questions. Who dares to start? Marco.
Yes, for me, that is pretty much clear. I'm coming from human resource management, change management, organizational management. And at the beginning, when we spoke about future of education, we spoke about flexibility, having flexible study programs and all this stuff. This can only work if the organization as such is flexible, and unfortunately, if the mindset of the people is flexible enough to adapt to those changes. And we are in a significant change process at the moment. So if I could change one thing, I would like to turn the switch in the heads of the people and make it more flexible to, let's say, new approaches in education.
So I quite agree. I also this sometimes kind of I've been thinking about that. How could this be so complicating? Yeah, and you know the have it kind of keep it simple or make it simple, and also that this have this more user-oriented mindset. When designing education, but I think that it starts with the organizational culture, and but also the kind of probably political or general discussion about, for example, in Finland, that how we could make the whole kind of structure more flexible, and in that way that also allow universities be more flexible. So of course the structures are in our society and legislation as well, but yeah, more flexibility.
What I'm hearing this week in Finland is how much the local teachers are valued, respected, and empowered by your government and the broader society. In Western Australia's Department of Education, what I would like to change is actually already happening with what we call the Aboriginal Cultural Standards Framework, which is guiding the culturally responsive work of teachers in our system. Because what I really want to see as a school leader, when I've got teachers coming into my school, they need to be culturally responsive. They need to be sensitive to the needs of our communities. They need to be workforce ready, and they need to be ready to adapt the curriculum to the needs and interests of our students.
To be on the fourth is already difficult, because I think, oh, I'm going to say that. Oh yes, simple, please. And but in a sense, what we learned here in Finland, or we heard here in Finland, I think the word trust was again, and space for the teachers. But when you really collaborate together with other teachers and with the companies, you need space, but you also need some good rules, or the way it can't be the traditional classroom, like you have the space in your classroom, you close the door and you're doing your thing. That's, we are not going back to that, but you need your space also to develop. And I think I was a little bit sad that I heard from more countries like that there's a lack of teachers in many countries, not in Finland, that even in Australia and everywhere. So the main thing is, it's such a beautiful profession to be a teacher, and how we can bring fun and space that really people love to do that job. And in a way, we make the system so complex. There are happening things that people stop with this profession. And yeah, that would be for me the main goal. So how can we make it? And because when the teachers love it, we're sure it's good for students.
Can I share more than one? I have some.
We can make an exception with you because you just arrived and you are struggling with
Because
the
I
jet
missed,
lag.
I missed the Monday and Tuesday, right? So, yeah, there's the question is if we can do what we can do to change the education ways. First, I would like to try in my school is I will ask the students to stand up instead of sit down to take a class. In that way, it could make them more focused. Harder for them to fall into sleep, right? So another one is we're studying that how we can enhance students' ability to of memorizing. So instead of just using their ear, using their eye, we should active their other senses. So if a room could, let's say, has all plasma around it, keep changing their background, right? And then we have some kind of different kind of scent, smelling coming in different chapters. It could active their ways to memorize this special chapters, special formula or whatever. Or when they're learning such chapters, they're eating cookies. Next one, they're eating chili or something, right? So active their ways to memorize certain things. So that's another thing I think for future school we should try out. And the last thing I think is very important is how we treat our teachers. The teachers, I think, is not going to be the traditional way. They should be called as a coach, as a fitness trainer. It's more like we asking students to be the one that in charge of study, or even ask the students to perform in the class. They teach each chapters or whatever, and the teacher just enhance them and then give them I was pumping up cheering for them. I think in that way it could help the kids get the ability of learning. That's more important to prepare them for the future. Thank you.
Well, I think this is important what you have raised. Caritas team, Caritas here, and Tanyo, my colleague here, and Nina as well. We have been traveling around the world, and I think our message to many of the countries where teachers are not so fortunate, they have this dream job or desired job, is that we will always want to remind them that the teaching is the most important profession in the world. So let's give an applause for all of you. I think we have Henry, you are the time master. So do we have time for a few questions?
Yes, we can take a couple of questions from the audience still. So, do you have any?
Yeah, thank you very much. We are also guests here in Finland. We are from Africa, in particular Rwanda. We arrived yesterday and we came to TAMK. We are collaborating together with the TAMK, with University of Rwanda, from Rwanda, Kigali. And we arrived this evening in the cold Finland. First time to see winter and seeing this kind of snow. For my colleague, at least for me, I have experienced, but my colleague was taking a lot of photos in the midnight, trying to see what's happening. But thank you very much for this session, and we're happy to have joined this, and thanks to Timo to bring us here in Finland. So I followed very well your even the theme of this panel discussion, the future of higher education. And for me, I was eagerly looking into it and how you really want to design that. And I felt that the theme around internationalization is key. And I was wondering to what level and extent do you make, or the enablers that are present to have internationalization take place. For example, currently we need to see students in universities working together. I think this is part of our research project currently. I built a project where we have the Rwandan students coming over to TAMK and also TAMK students going to University of Rwanda. That's an example, but these are some of the things that are happening. But we wanted to learn more on how this collaboration is going. For example, making sure that students exchange and internationalization can bring in students to study together and also go to other places. How is that enabled from your policies, regulations within Europe or within Finland or within Germany or other states? How is that? How do you see that? Because we see that as very key. And second, what I have also learned, for example, this teaching with technical universities is you have very good thing that of linking students, academics to the industry. And for me, this is very critical, and that's some of the challenge that we have in most of the African universities, but in particular in our own country, where students come out and they're not linked to the industry. So I wanted to learn how the strategies for internationalization and enablers for that. How do you see it within your own universities working, and how can that be linked to other universities that want collaboration around that and networking? Thank you.
Who wants to take this? Here, hand, yes.
Maybe at least to the first part of your question. So for us, although we are a small university, a pretty relatively small university, we have, for our students, it is very well structured. So we have around 100 cooperation universities around the world, and in most of our curricula, it is at least possible to have for 1 or 2 semesters, like a stay abroad. So this is very well, would say, very structurally organized. The other way around, it is not so structured, I have to admit. We are benefiting from many students from India and formerly also from China. This has decreased significantly, but it's not in a very structured manner, to be honest. And for my current position, I do not appreciate it so much, because some things like Corona crisis can immediately result in reduced student numbers, and we were facing a lot of problems due to that, and also including other issues like visa problems, for instance, if there are some political conflicts arising. So that is really an issue. For the incoming side of students, I think we can be much better.
Does anyone else want to answer something from the context? Yeah.
In Australia, we are thrilled to be opening our borders to higher education students from around the world. Our international numbers are going up. We can offer one of the best education systems in the world, and I'd be happy to speak to you about connecting you to the relevant Australian authorities for higher education. What I particularly like about our university system in Australia is the cultural diversity of our universities, which is really adding to the knowledge base of our country and our international connections around the world.
All right, thank you. I'm checking the time, and our time is unfortunately running all the times, and I think that there would be a lot of different questions for you, but you know, maybe we can continue over lunch. And let's give a big thank you to our lovely panelists and our host. So thank you once again. Next, we have something about the future of internationalization, and I will invite to the stage Dr. Karita Prokki, who is our Director of Global Education, who you've met already, and also Ms. Jamul Overnay from the Instituto Federal de Educação, Ciência e Tecnologia de Paraíba, Brazil. You know, researcher, right? So please join Karita here up on stage. Thank you.
It's better.
Streaming of this event, it's better that they are up, right? And the stage. Yeah, stage.
Yes. Moi. Let's finish again. Okay, let's see if our, I think, let me see. Yes. Perfect. Okay, just. So coming to the end of this seminar together, and our topic today is not less than the future of internationalization in education, a big topic like the previous one. And I think that the panelists were almost sliding into our topic already. But I'm really happy to see you here still, and I'm quite sure that we all here are very much interested in the future of internationalization in education. I introduced myself already 2 days ago, but still once, if somebody just arrived, like our colleagues from Africa. I'm Karita Prokki, Director of our Global Operations and Business Operations. And the past decade, I've been traveling around the world talking about the future of education, talking about the modern teaching, talking about active learning and so forth. And here's my colleague. You have your own mic. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us. My name is Jamile Overnay. I am Brazilian, and I'm here as for my postdoctoral research. I am an alumni. Yes, I've been coming to Finland ever since 2016, and then again in 2017, and over another part of times coordinating exchange programs. So we're here today to dialogue with previous presentations, for sure, and also previous presentations from the other days of the ION TAMK. So thank you very much.
And by the way, we met 2000, I think it was 16 in Brazil, in your school, in an educational fair or something like that. And since that, we've been cooperating and deepening our international relation, and it has been quite amazing journey. And I'm quite sure that when I'm old, sitting in my rocking chair, I can still think about our relationship.
I think you'll be visiting me by the beach in Brazil.
Oh, yes, thank you. May I ask you first to activate you a little bit, what is your first memory of internationalization? When did it happen? What happened? I tell you mine. I was 16. My family got an exchange student from Brazil, not her, a different one. But I was sitting in the back seat of the car, and after 2 minutes, she was telling me that talk more.
That's
Good.
what we do. Sorry, we're talkative.
We Finns are very quiet and shy. What's your first memory of internationalization? Thinking of internationalization. Jose, what is your memory?
Thank you. Teachers always speak loud, but the microphone is better. So I'm José Luis, I'm Brazilian. I was here in 2016, but my first experience was in 1998. I went to England for a 3-week period of English courses. I remember walking the streets of Oxford and going to the university, and this scenery of movies that we see, medieval movies. But one of my memories is not a good one. It was the final of the 1998 World Cup. I watched it in a pub with a lot of international people, and France won Brazil 3-0. So it was great being there, but it was really bad watching the game with people from France and having to look them in the eye. And yeah, but it was a good experience.
Okay, and a good memory. Okay, one more. Let's take one more. There it is. Henry, please.
I was also 16 on an exchange to Brighton. I'm from Groningen, the Netherlands. And on a certain moment, the bus forgot me, or I was late. I won't discuss on that. So there was no internet, we had no phones. I had this vague memory of my exchange family. So I thought I did not have money with me. So I thought how to get back. And then I went to a cell phone, and I rang. So I got a lady, and she said, "Yeah, you have to pay to make a phone call." And then I explained the whole thing, and then she helped me out finding the address. Anyway, well, everything went well. The lady, let's say surrogate mother, collected me, etc. And I didn't want to tell everyone that this all happened. But the funny thing was that I had mixed feelings, because on the one hand, I got lost. And on the other hand, I was helped by so many people that I did not know. And it was a very inspiring experience. And from that moment on, I thought, I need to discover the world, but I need to remember where I am.
Fantastic. Yes. Lovely memories we all have, I'm sure. And tonight in the party, we can discuss more about our great memories. Okay, let's have a little chat about the future of internationalization. I think we all agree that we have basically these decades we have been discussing about the internationalization abroad, coming abroad, going abroad, and the internationalization at home. Somebody in the panel just said that our city is already discussing, do we have too many international students already, and so forth. So this twofold thing. And it has been in a higher education sector that the mobility has been the dominator. So teachers, staff coming out, coming in, students as well. So these, I think, at least in the Europe, this has been the fact that we've been facing, and getting money from the EU. I think that very important question for us now is that we have to start visioning our future, and being able to see what is the route to the next step. And how would we answer, if I would ask you now, how would you answer in 10 or 20 years what has happened from now till 2030, 2040? And so that we could be proud of our internationalization. This is very important question for us to think about. So basically our internationalization has been, I would say, at the very basic level. Mobility, it's good, there's nothing bad at that. It has brought many of us to a certain level and understanding internationalization. But now, I think that it's time to move on more towards quality of our internationalization. What is the quality of my university's internationalization? Are we still at the stage of the mobility? This could be, the first step. And then what could be the next step? I was just having lunch before this session, and was discussing with my colleague, and she said that, hey, I met here somebody yesterday, and we already decided that next autumn we will run a course together. Is this the next step? That we will start, coming out of our silos I think we are pretty much in our silos still, building our own curricula, teaching in our universities. But actually, we already, like the panelists were also telling, we have already all the tools to be the most international, choose very international ways of teaching and learning. And this is the cause of the pandemic, of course. We all came to the same page in one night. So I think that it's worth discussing about the quality of internationalization as a future step. How deep can we dive? I took one quote from Witt et al. Saying that internationalization needs to evolve into a more comprehensive, more international and less elitist process, less focused on mobility and less economically driven, with the goal to enhance the quality of education and research and make a meaningful contribution to the society. I really liked this quote, which challenges us all. And now I will hand mic over to Jamil about cultural understanding.
So with that in mind, I think it would be interesting for us to think about stepping out of the economically driven mobility and stepping into the cultural understanding. So as a Brazilian, I have lots of stories to share about my previous visits to Finland, but the most outstanding one is definitely going to sauna. And it still is until yesterday. As you go into the sauna and you experience the sauna spirit, Lolo, am I correct? And after that, you get to experience the frozen lake and diving into the water. So, and then we, as Brazilians, we come here and we think, why stepping into the frozen water, you know? But still, it's interesting because it's a moment that you get to share experiences, you get to learn about the other culture, and the other culture also gets to learn about you. So, is this okay? Did I do something? Yes. So, still thinking about this cultural understanding between the cultures, I'd like to highlight this unlimited cycle of knowing, learning, and experimenting. So as we step into another country, or you welcome somebody from the other country, as Carita did, a very talkative Brazilian in her case, it would be interesting to experiment that, at least to learn about that moment, and also to be able to live that culture. So I think being able to be mobile or being able to receive and welcome foreigners into your own country is about also that. And you have this internalization that is shared among diversity. Diversity is definitely a key word for the 21st century and maybe 22nd century as well when we come about internalization and the future of it. And I think, and of course, a very key word also when it comes about the Finnish educational system, when you think, and we have to share this, is trust. I think trust is something that we can take in our backpacks home once we go back home, and try at least to share this knowledge of trust and share the practice of trust, because that definitely gets us lots of places. Something else that made me think as a teacher is that the future of internationalization in education, be it higher education like Virpi's panelists discussed, or vocational education, which was one of my core fields, is the focus on learners. So it's a very productive moment for the teacher to know that the learner can produce independently, to be able to also trust the learner's autonomy. So, and then again, I bring another cycle, which is the ability of making a lesson attractive. And that's not only a teacher's responsibility, but it's also a student's responsibility. Why does the learner come to class? Because he's attracted to something. Why does the learner want to innovate, or why does the teacher want to innovate? You know, stepping into the classroom as a productive learner, being able to participate in and produce and design, it's very important also to be empowering your learner. And it's, of course, student-centered, and it's trustworthy, and something that we have to think about. If we're thinking about blended learning and the future of internationalization, working with this diversity, the metaverse, and whatever comes, ChatGPT, and all these new technologies, I think it's not about only digitalizing, it's about participating. So you create something that is digital, but it's also participational. So people get to participate and get to interact. It's not only being spoon-fed like a baby. It's also being able to feed forward the environment. Something else that has been addressed today and other days is the ability to connect or even to reconnect the networks. So like I mentioned to you earlier, I came here for my first time in 2016. And ever since then, I was able to be connected to 23 more teachers from the same network of federal institutes where I work with that I've never seen in my entire life. And these are people from all over the country. And as you know, Brazil is not a small country. So we had the opportunity to share and get to know more people, more areas of expertise, learn from them. And then we eventually went to Hamelina to know a group of more 23 Brazilians who were also there, also from the same federal institutes, and then get to expand our network. And we've been doing that ever since 2016. We keep this WhatsApp group, one of the technological wonders of connecting people. And we've been able to, through that same group, provide workshops for other institutions, invite partners to carry out research, or even teach an online class during the pandemic. So I could have like somebody from the south of Brazil. I live in the Northeast, so I could have somebody from the south of Brazil teaching at the same time with me as my guest, because the technology enabled me to do that. And it was very nice. The students had this very nice opportunity to share and to learn from other partners as well. So to be able to connect with March Kutcher and his punk pedagogy, I brought this idea that the networks, they should be able to be alive, kicking and with agency. So if the network's there, like Celia said, it's important to be able to share your network. So it's through VP that I got to meet Celia, and we're now today in a partnership that eventually will be very successful. So that's it. That is agency. That is sharing. That is being able to connect and reconnect and bring this impossible, infinite multitude of networks together. And it's also interesting to keep in mind that networks, they should be sustainable. Once they start, they should never end. They should be able to be living on and adding on more information, more people, more sharing. And I think one interesting thing is also acknowledging the fact that the future of internationalization is about international professional learning communities. So whether you're in Australia, whether you're in Brazil, Finland, it's important that we can all connect together and share our ideas together. So by creating, adapting, and implementing as well. And I'm going to give the microphone back to Carita.
Well, I just got an idea. I wrote down it a few minutes ago. You know, having this sustainable network. Why don't we build up a professional higher education TikTok for us? We could share, you know, instantly when you do something in the classroom, we would share it and everybody would have it. We don't have to even travel to Finland or to Australia to, you know, hear the great news from your school, or
professional TikTok for us. Let's do that, Jamil.
Definitely.
Yes.
Great idea.
Yeah, okay. Are you joining?
Who's joining us?
Okay.
I want to see
Also,
hands.
then dance moves allowed, but if that helps learning. Okay. But these kind of small ideas are sometimes the best ones. We don't have to reinvent the wheel again. We already have a tool, but we just have to, narrow it down a little bit to teachers and education professionals. So let's build this kind of a learning processes together easily. The technique is there. And like Jamil said, I cannot underline more the cooperation and the knowledge sharing. We still are in our silos, and I would like to remind us that, hey, why don't we wake up every morning thinking that how could I demolish a little bit of the silo I'm sitting in? So this is very difficult for us educators. We love to sit in those silos. And I want you to ask this question. Every morning you wake up, why I am sitting in my silo, why I'm not working internationally, why I'm not working with my colleagues from other disciplines, so like Dr. Scholz was saying this morning. And of course, this all will make our processes even more sustainable. We are not alone in this complex world. We have to work together and build on the quality of internationalization. And then would, of course, mean empowering societies affected by the internationalization. We have a lot on our shoulders. We teachers, we and educators, and as Virpi said, I really think that we have to understand how powerful we actually are. We have lots to give and lot of responsibilities, of course. But now let's move to our active part.
We have a question for you. Actually,
Yes.
we have two questions. So grab your phones. It's phone time. Not for the
Showtime.
TikTok yet.
Okay.
So point your phones at this screen. You're now going to get a link to the Mentimeter, where we have two questions for you. So question number one is, what is the future of internationalization for you, and challenge in one word? Can you do it? Exercise your power of conciseness. You want the QR back? Thank you. Can we have the QR back? Yes, it's there. And after you've been challenged with the one-word task, there is another question for you. So here we go. Digital. Interesting keyword. Sharing. I like cooperation better. Very good. Trust, connect. International meetings, whether they are online or face-to-face. Perfect. Just do it and don't wait it. I like that. I think that's the motto for the TikTok. Just do it. Don't wait. Empathy. Very nice. Chose it. And there we are with very nice combination of words and ideas. So we can print that word cloud and take it with us and think about them and start empowering our international professional learning community into this future of internationalization in education. Can we move on to the next question, please? It's the same QR code as you click. Huh? No, you don't need to point again. Yeah, it's on the same site. It's the bottom. So what role are you playing in the future of internationalization? Wow. Cultural introduction, quality management, punk pedagogy. Great. We should have Mark here. Motivate students, creativity, ambassador role, very good. Transformer, agency, very nice. To be curious. A teacher, very good. Facilitator, multiple roles, making workshops, connectors and learners, trigger enthusiasm. Fantastic. Are we on time? I'm a change agent into inspiring my students to become citizens of the world. Perfect. As a teacher, I try to empower students to go abroad by making them trust themselves and make them realize they can make a meaningful contribution to the lives of others and themselves. Fantastic. Curious Coach. Maybe that's the name of the TikTok site, the Curious Coach. Fantastic, very good. Yes. And I think now we have time for questions. If anyone has.
Or comments. We don't even have to have comments. Questions, if you have good comments, you're welcome. We have a couple minutes, I think. There we are, Henry, there.
I get the idea that also the Finnish government support you much in your internationalization because Finland is very active in it. Can you tell me a little bit more about what are they doing to support you in internationalization?
Is it to me?
What?
To me or Karita?
No, who knows? I think Karita knows, but maybe you also.
Finnish government, you mean higher education?
Yeah, and
in
to
higher
go
education.
to do internationalization, also my colleagues and I, we were, like yesterday, the minister was coming here. It was for us also a sign that they find it very important that things with what you are doing here and that they find teachers also very important and also internationalization.
Yes, I think we come to the question, or we come to the fact that Finland is so small, 5.5 million, as I was already saying in my opening speech. We are so small that there is no other way. We all have to accept it from the political point of view, from the educational point of view. We have to accept that we cannot, we don't survive without internationalization. I think this is somehow embedded in our society and in our thinking. And of course, nowadays, the new generations, they are already, born with that. But my generations, we were kind of taught that internationalization is very important. You have to be able to speak languages, otherwise you won't survive with the Finnish language. So it has been in our history and in the context always, I would say.
Other questions?
Okay, then let's talk more in the evening today in the party. So thank you very much. It was great talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I really like the idea of having this like TikTok where dance moves are allowed if they support learning. I was thinking that, my dance moves would most definitely not help learning. So, maybe I'll skip that part. But anyway, time for our last session of this seminar. So I'm going to welcome Ms. Kirsi Jokipakka up on stage. She's the Head of Support Services for Learning and Wellbeing.
Okay, our 2-day seminar is almost at the end. I think the 2 days went so fast. Do you agree with me? Very fast, very interesting topics. We heard many topical and inspiring speeches given by our local and international colleagues and experts. When we here at TAMK were planning this seminar, we were thinking what would be interesting to our audience. Our main idea for the seminar was to share different perspectives from different countries. And this is actually what happened. I personally learned a lot during the 2 days. Yesterday, our first speaker was Mr. Mikko Dufa, a leading specialist from the Finnish Innovation Fund, Sitra. He was talking about future challenges and how we can tackle them. There are no easy solutions, but one answer is a full participation on creating a better and sustainable future together. We need to work together, not alone. I think you also agree on that. After Mr. Dufa, our senior lecturer, Mr. Jiri Vilppala, talked about the teachers' digital competencies. He opened the work of vocational education teachers today. What is obvious is that we need good technology, which helps teachers. But we also need support on using the technology in education. Yesterday afternoon, there were 4 project examples. And what is common to all of these projects is that there is a great network. There are passionate people behind the projects. They share the same passion and they want to work together. Isn't that great? At the end of yesterday, we received greetings from the national level when the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Pekka Haavisto, shared us his thoughts about today's world. I really loved his optimistic views, even though there are many challenges ongoing in the world. So he brought us some light, which I really liked. Today, we started with 2 excellent presentations. First, Professor Eric Scholz opened the theme of interdisciplinary in proactive design processes. One of his messages to us was that in the proactive design processes, the designer acts as an innovator or entrepreneur. I must say that that is totally true. After Professor Scholz, Mr. Valentino Piana talked about the better future and what is the role of living labs in the process of building a better future. He pointed out that the role of the living labs is extremely important, especially in opening up the dialogue channels. And then later we had an excellent panel discussion. I'm so happy that many of our colleagues joined the panel and shared their views and ideas. The last topic of today's seminar was the future of internationalization, which is my personal favorite topic. I have worked in international education for years, and I think now it's the time to really rethink the internationalization and how it's going to look in the future. And we all have a role on that. During the 2 days, I got personally very excited about the future of education. I hope you did too. There is a promising future in front of us if we reconnect with professionals and build strong networks for the future. I want to thank all the speakers who shared their know-how and experiences with us. I now reading all the names. What an impressive list. Sanna, Mikko, Jiri, Piotr, Anna, Anja, Evelina, Petri, Ari, Erik, Valentino, Virpi, Silja, Marco, Marietta, Shane, Shang, Karita, and Jamil. Let's give a round of applause to all of them. And I also want to thank the host of today, Henry. Yeah. You made a really relaxed atmosphere here today with your jokes and your Finnish lessons. We all know now at least 2 words, or 2, I would say double words. Hyvää huomenta, which was the good morning, and tavataan torilla. I don't know if any one of you found out what that means, but later today you will. We will teach you. So thank you once again for joining our 2-day seminar, and looking forward to have great discussions with all of you later this week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kirsi. And please don't go just yet. I know you're all hungry at this point, I'm as well, but I would like to go through just briefly some very important things before you go off to lunch. And I have them here so that I don't forget anything. So next up is lunch, of course, and in the same way as yesterday, we have 2 options here at this campus. So the campus restaurant and then also the catering studio where the students serve the lunch that they've prepared. So you can choose between them. And then after that, the afternoon, there's going to be the sessions. And then, of course, the poster exhibition is on program today. So the poster authors will be there to explain what their posters are about. So it's worth visiting as well. And the educational leadership people are going to have school visits today. So 2 buses will leave at 2 o'clock in front of G entrance. One of them is going to Tredu, which is the vocational college, the city center. And then the other one is going to TAK, which is Adult Education Center. So please be there at 2 o'clock. And then today, there is something very interesting after the session. So between 4 and 6 o'clock, so conveniently between the sessions and the evening program, there is the art students' fine art degree show called RAW at Gallery Himmelblau in Finlayson area. So if you have time, that's a good idea to visit. The Finlayson area is really a nice area as well. So please go there if you have time, if you're interested in seeing the art exhibition. And then, of course, the final thing today is our evening program at 6 o'clock at Pakkahuone. The Grand Iontam get-together. There's going to be buffet dinner. There's a band playing. Really nice thing. You don't want to miss this. So I hope to see everybody there in the evening. By the way, we're using the doors on the railway station side. So there are a lot of different doors, but the railway station side, these are the doors that we're using. But there will be people guiding you there as well. Then about tomorrow, Thursday, so we're of course going to have the famous morning swim. The brave souls will be joining Nina in taking a dip in Lake Näsijärvi. So that's the morning starter. And then we have a full day of different sessions. You've probably chosen your sessions already. And then after the day, there's the closing reception where you're going to get your certificates, and we're going to officially say goodbye, but not to all of you, because I hope that many of you will still be here on Friday when we still have something. But before I go to Friday, Thursday, all educational leadership people are hopefully joining the forest school visit, Vuoras School, which is a forest school. So prepare to also go outside. So it's gonna be nice. 8:45. The bus is gonna start 8:45 in front of the Holiday Inn Hotel. Okay. And Friday, the last day of our week, we're gonna have the learning environment visits, and also at the same time there's gonna be a workshop that's going to take place in Eduic's premises in Finlayson area as well. So just making sure that you've noticed that it's not here, it's in Finlayson. So if you're going to the workshop, please go there. All right, I think that was all. And next, I'd like to see how our live drawing is as it's maybe completed by now. I don't know. Let's have a look. Let's see how it looks like. Wow. Let's give a big hand. That's nice, yeah. All the themes, and then there's thank you all. Nice. Wow. Great. Thank you. Thanks for the artist for that. And the one final thing before you go, let's have a group photo. There's going to be a photographer here up on stage. So, and we're going to be just here, and we can wave, do some crazy stuff to make it more fun, you know? Maybe, do you need any, do we need to move somewhere? Is it like, okay, like this, or? It's okay, all right, so you can just like, everyone to the center, all right, okay, please. Okay, thank you. Now we can go to lunch.